Just walk away. Just walk away, and there will be an end to the horror.
All right, hello everybody. How are you doing? It's MGTOW Chats, episode number 67, with your host, Ayam, Sirias, my co-host, Lamprey Milt, and our guest today is, well, what were we going to call you again today? I forgot.
Jeff Strike.
Jeff Strike, otherwise known as Slaughterhouse
Nope.
Cartoons.
Slaughterhouse Cartoons. Yeah, I'm the guy behind the Magick.
Yeah, he's one of our moderators. Oh, Warrior, I just saw you get rid of that chick in the chats. Good for you. Thanks. They don't know the rules yet, so sorry, lady. You can listen, but you can't chat. Anyway,
Yeah. Well,
um,
we kind of have to kick him out. It's just that's the thing. That's our rule.
it is.
That's
It's
what
the
it should
rule.
be.
It's the rule that we started from the beginning, and we're going to stick to that rule. Again, I will repeat that rule: no women, no trannies, no sodomites in the chat. If they want to watch and listen, that's fine. All right. Anyway, so yeah, we've got sorry, Jeff Strike, right? You got a bunch of
That's
pseudonyms.
right.
So
You can
Jeff
call me
Strike.
Jeff. Jeff is fine. Call me
Jeff.
Jeff.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
got Jeff, again, otherwise known as Slaughterhouse Cartoons, and our topic today is Magick with a K, a bit of the history of it, and hopefully, I'm not very adept at the subject. I've done a little bit of research that you sent me earlier, Jeff, and I do know some of the topics that you brought up. So I'll be able to keep up with you, but I think hopefully, a lot of our listeners probably are quite unfamiliar with the topic. It is an unusual one. So why don't we get started and maybe just give a quick summary of what you want to explain, as well as the spelling of the word and the sigil that everybody can see in front of them now.
Okay. Well, I don't have a definition of the sigil. That was actually just something I threw up there. But sigil is basically something that bypasses your conscious mind and accesses your subconscious mind to do things that you want it to do.
Okay.
A sigil is a way of writing to your subconscious in order for things to happen. And it's a way of kind of hacking reality, so to speak.
Right.
That's what sigil magic is. Now, magic with a K. This comes from Aleister Crowley, and Crowley is everybody thinks of him as a bad guy. Nick, you were saying?
Nope, sorry, go on.
I think that was his
Anyway,
background. Anyway, yeah, continue.
oh okay. Yeah, I didn't hear. I didn't know. So anyway, he's some would say he's actually the devil himself, and he is the most heinous person on the planet. But in actuality, he's kind of a holy man for a lot of different people. If you actually go into his history, he's kind of like they would call a person right now Nazi, and so they're back during the time that he was alive, they called him the most wickedest man around. But he had a lot of knowledge when it came to magic. He kind of saw through some of the practices that were going on, and the current power structure didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of tried to demonize him with words and to box him into a kind of his own box that he can affect somebody else's thinking. People would avoid him. The average person wouldn't listen.
He was a heretic for his time.
Yes, he was very much.
Just quickly, I mean, on the subject, but I just want to add something. Maybe I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but I mean, we won't. It's a digression. We won't stick on it, but
No, that's fine.
um, have you heard I guess call it a conspiracy, but there's a lot of good evidence to support it, and I only came across it not too long ago, but that Barbara Bush was the daughter of Aleister Crowley?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. I've heard that too. I don't know, but they do look a lot alike. Uh, if you were
Well,
to put a
why don't you go in a little bit about him, because I've tried watching videos on Crowdy, and I couldn't really understand it too much. I watched at least a good 3 or 4 hours of material on the individual, and I still don't really know who he is. Can you go into detail a little bit more about this person for the layman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he's an English occultist, and he comes from money for one. He's done quite a bit of interesting magic. He worked with the Order of the Golden Dawn, and I'm familiar with them because a lot of the rituals that I do come from that particular order. He's studied tantric, and if you understand what tantric sex is, basically that's what he studied. They didn't particularly like it. He is he has a voracious sexual appetite. He is a 33rd degree Mason, if there is such a thing. I don't even think that's real. I think that's just a joke. Or he was kind of a trickster and a jokester of his time as well. He would teach you in ways that would change your thinking and your perception.
Mm-hmm.
He is in my opinion, he's a trust fund baby. He had enough money to go around studying magic 24/7. He had to have some money behind him. He committed a lot of crimes, but never got jailed for it. Well, not crimes, but he was in trouble a lot, hijinks and whatnot.
When was he alive? When did this was the mid 19th century, correct?
Crowley. Let me look him up real quick. Get it on my.
Well, if he was the father of Barbara Bush, that would put him around early to mid 19th century, right?
Drop from my notes. Had everything crashed before. Yeah, about that. He's about during that period of time. Here we go. Aleister Crowley. Okay. He is. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll get back. He's the father. He's the father.
What's that?
1875 to 1947.
There you go. Right at the turn of the 20th century, that guy was alive. All right.
So back before the feminist movement.
Yeah, well, he saw it. I guess he would have seen it, the birth of it, in the late 1800s. Or, yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder if some of his ideas sparked it or what exactly happened there. I'm not exactly sure. There's a lot of myths about him that you don't exactly know.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get back to the subject of what magic is and how it kind of functions.
Right.
And what if you're a layman, how you should kind of look at magic. If you want to, jump away from the idea of woo-woo or spirituality, magic happens all the time. We're doing magic right now, talking over the internet with technology. Between the lines, between the internet, all these different connections, just to be able to communicate back and forth. That's magic. And a lot of the sciences that we have now are because of alchemy, chemistry, and astronomy, and medicine has its roots in herbology, and a lot of these come from the studies of magic, herbs. Your painkiller, aspirin comes from that in particular. There's a lot of different things that we actually are taking for granted because of magic. Mm-hmm. So it's something that we kind of sloughed off. We don't really pay attention to it much. We don't understand where these things come from, and they're kind of buried by other religious groups like Christians. So I can understand if nobody really understands the subject. Makes perfect sense.
Well, it's always been viewed as a taboo topic. There's no doubt about that. It never really gained any traction even after Crowley, but I'm sure there's quite a few followers of his. I don't know if you want to call it a faith, but it definitely seems like a faith-based system. And we had the Satanists on maybe was it maybe 3 or 4
yeah.
So yeah, we're getting more involved in these type of ideas, and opening to alternative views. It's no doubt it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, because we had the Satanist on who said he was talking about Anton LaVey. So there's that too. We got Greg Q in. Greg Q's in the chats.
Right on.
Just want to say hi to who's ever in the chats. We got Death the Kid. Oh, Jorn was in. He's gone now. He's been emailing me a whole bunch about flat Earth. He's gone. And Warrior's doing great. Okay. Anyway, continue, man. Sorry.
Okay, so let's get back to Magic and basically how it functions and how it works. There are systems.
Mm-hmm.
There are quite a few systems. Let's see. Let me give you an idea. There are angels and there are demons in Magic. Okay. And I know that's going to scare a lot of people, but demons are not really that bad. They have a dual purpose. They are duplicitous. They have a positive and a negative in Magic. Okay, but so does everything else in life.
Right.
I can name one thing in particular that has a positive and negative we need, and that would be water.
Right.
Okay, you have to have water to live, but if you get too much of it, you end up drowning. So it's a positive and negative at the same time. Reality is a positive and a negative all at the same time. There is I'd like to say it's a unity of opposites that is happening at all times through reality. And when you're into the working with Magic, you're actually trying to figure out how reality functions and works. Magic is a system. It's got rules. There are certain things you cannot do in Magic. I cannot topple a skyscraper with Magic. You can pick up women. There are love spells out there. But that can actually become exceptionally out of control. So I wouldn't suggest doing those particular spells. And when you're playing around with these primitive, I would like to call them consciousness creatures out there, basically your demons, the 72 demons of the.
That's of the Solomon's Key, right?
Yeah, of the Solomon's Key. It's kind of interesting if you have do you have some of those guys queued up on your computer?
I have Secrets of Solomon Grimoire Magic classes. I have a Key of Solomon on Wikipedia. There was one actually you sent me. I'll go to it right now. The 72 demons, right?
Yeah, the 72 demons.
Because that one was pretty cool.
Yeah, if you want to go through a few of those and kind of let the folks know.
What's the fundamentals of it? So it's connecting to your subconscious. So you're basically, from what I've read about it, it's very fascinating. Might I add, is that you have to control your subconscious. Most people. The way I view what my subconscious is basically just the environment, perhaps what you eat, sleeping patterns, all these type of these factors involved in what really drives your subconscious. And that's really, in order to derive from your subconscious, you're making choices based on your conscience. So what you're suggesting is that there is a way to, I guess, control the current within your subconscious.
Well, basically, we don't know where we end and reality begins. Reality is hard to define, right? We're using tools. We're using our senses, but our senses can't. We can't pick everything up. We can't hear like dogs. We can't see the full spectrum of light. And there's also the problem of how do we interpret what we see? I could see something different than you, but we'll see the same things because we have a basic program of how things are.
Half full, glass half full, glass half empty is a perfect example.
Yeah, glass half full, glass half empty, exactly. So people are going to see things in a different way based on their wiring, their upbringing, their training. When you start out in life as a person, You have no prejudice. You have no idea what things are until you have someone come into your life, and that would be your mother. By the way, your mother trains you on how to see things most of the time. Anyway, that your mother does now. Your father probably does, well, in a sense of normality, in current time. The mother spends more time with children than the father does, and that has a tendency to taint your psyche. I talked about this with Ayam.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Imagine, if you will, you are a child, right, and you are looking up all the time, and you're being taught by your mother. Your mother is teaching you, and you're looking for acceptance from her. That's a very strong psychological connection, and that in the way I see it with Magick, that will translate over to real life when you're dating and things of that nature. A male mother need basically is what Barbarossa talked about. That's basically what you're doing. That's basically what's happening now.
Right.
My opinion of how children should be raised, if we're going to go the MGTOW way, is that a child should only be raised, spend time with the mother 3 months. Then after that, not the son or the daughter, preferably both, either one doesn't matter to me, but preferably the son goes with the father and learns how to hunt, learns how to see the world, how to control his emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It creates more of a stable environment, and that translates out to the real world. Okay, so you'll have more men and less mama's boys, basically, uh, being raised by their mothers. I can see it now, how there's a lot of men out there that are basically cucked, and they're going. They're not making
Emasculated
yeah,
too.
they're emasculated because of the way they've been raised.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
And you know, I've always said on that topic, I've always said that I believe that once a child is old enough to be weaned off its mother's teat, then she doesn't really serve that much of a purpose anymore in the raising of the child. I stand
Yeah,
by that. I believe that.
yeah. I think we've lost a lot of things because of the fact that there's not a lot of fathers in the picture. It could be because of economic reasons. It could be because of legal reasons. The mother kicks father out of the home. There's all a whole number of reasons why,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, knowing your audience and listening to the program, they understand exactly what I'm talking about. But this is leading to the destruction of society if we're not too careful. And I think there might be a chance that we're not. There's no way to save this. We're just going to have to ride the waves and see what happens after. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Well, going back to the magic,
Mhm.
I think it's pretty fucking incredible black magic that we've become so feminized. But besides that, um, we were getting into the Key of Solomon, or Solomon's Key.
Oh yeah, the Key of Solomon. So do you have those kind of queued up there?
Yeah, I will. I'll share them with the audience because this is pretty fascinating stuff. And hold on, let me share
Okay.
screen.
So yeah, I've actually got the book right here.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah, it's actually have the books. Let me go ahead and look up one of the first ones.
Now, for the viewers, if you guys, I'm pretty sure most people probably know who Solomon is. He was a character in the Bible as well as a character in the Quran, and depending on which side of the story you read, paint a little bit of a different picture of this character. But I think most people agree, both Christian or Muslim or Jew, is that this character Sulaiman was a prophet of God. So there's that, in case you guys didn't know. Anyway,
Okay, so these spirits are basically, in my opinion, uh, kind of a part of our primal mind, and they all have a purpose. And believe it or not, they have a structure. So there are presidents, there are earls, there are kings, uh, there are dukes, there are princes, and they all have some interesting qualities about them. Baal, okay, I'll mention the first one. Baal is the first uh, principal spirit is a king. Is a king riding the east called Baal. He can make a man go invisible. He ruleth over 66 legions of infernal spirits. Legion is about, I think, about 2 to 3,000 in an army. He appeareth in different shapes. Sometimes comes as a cat or a toad, and sometimes like a man. So you can actually compel, as a magician, you can compel these particular creatures to do your bidding or come in as a man. So it's better for you to deal with them that way, so you can actually handle them. It's kind of interesting how the pictures basically show kind of an Elizabethan version of these particular spirits. But
you're talking about Baal now, right? You're talking about Baal,
Baal.
The absolutely amazing topic. That is, I'm so fascinated with that. What's Baal's? I'm digressing here for a moment, but I want to say correctly. His minions. His minions as Beelzebub.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Amazing creatures, and I really dig this topic. It's mad cool.
Well, let me just read from this one site quickly to the listeners. It says the 72, they call it spirits of Solomon or Sulaiman in the Arabic. According to legend, King Sulaiman of Israel captured and contained 72 rebellious demons within a brass vessel. He threw that vessel into a deep Babylonian lake in order to keep others from discovering the power it had. While searching for the treasured vessel, the Babylonians broke it, releasing the demons. Believing that Baal was the most powerful of the demons held within the vessel. Is that right? Belial?
Yeah, well, he's got a couple of... Yeah, he's got a couple of different ways to say it.
Okay.
But he's basically has dominion over the sky. And he actually, there are some. There's one community that worships him as a god. And I don't exactly remember which one it is, but if you look it up on YouTube, you can find it.
Well, isn't Baal the correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Baal was the focus of service in what is that? In the redwoods of California, where all the fucking presidents go and burn effigies.
No, that's Moloch.
Oh, Moloch is a different one. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know too much, but anyway.
Well, okay. Well, you want to go into talking about Moloch real quick?
Is that one of the 72 demons of Solomon?
No.
Okay.
No, that's actually something else. But what I find interesting about that particular subject is the fact that they're performing a ritual called the cremation of care. So these are a bunch of powerful people that are basically controlling a lot of things. This is my opinion from what I've seen, is that cremation of care is a way of writing off all of the all of the magic or the things that a lot of these corporate people do to basically wipe their hands of everything that they cannot control or fix, and it's a way for them to basically discharge certain actions that they've done. So it's kind of like washing their hands of what they do in society. So it's kind of an interesting, and hence the word cremation of care. So they're basically destroying with magic you have polarities, right? You have two different kinds of polarities. You have positive and you have negative, and they're basically for every here's an Isaac Newton connection to that. And Isaac Newton happens to be a Mason. He's also a alchemist as well, and he's a magician, in my opinion. And he's one of the few people that I actually revere, because Isaac Newton never ever had sex. When he went to college, he wasn't like everybody else. He supposedly studied for 18 hours a day.
He was a MGTOW before the time.
Yes, he was a way MGTOW before his time.
Yeah.
And he was proud of dying a complete virgin when he was, that he knew that he was going to die. He was excited about the fact that he was going to be a virgin, because women to him was basically a distraction.
It's like Tesla
to what he wanted to accomplish. Yeah, just basically a distraction to get in the way of his goals. And he's one of the reasons why we can do a lot of the stuff that we do now through calculus. Um, so there's an example of somebody who actually is a MGTOW and who is practicing everything from practicing at least alchemy that I'm aware of, and he's using magical numbers and symbols and things like that to come up with answers and to solve things in equations. Math is a form of magic as well. That's another thing that I should bring out and put out on the table. There's a lot of interesting things about similarities between mathematical symbols and the tarot card.
Math magic. I've heard that.
Math magic.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you look at the symbol affinity, which is basically an 8 turned sideways, if you were to actually, I don't know if you can do that or not. Can you pull up a tarot card?
Sure. Hold on a second. Any particular one?
One with the infinity symbol. I don't have. I'm not quite versed in the tarot yet. I'm practicing. There's a lot to learn in magic. Lots of different takes on it. It's not just like one big book that everything.
Oh, the magician. There it is. I'll hold on.
And that think about how that worked. That magician. I automatically thought, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. We're talking about magic, and
yes.
we pull up magician right off the bat.
Yes, there's in the magician he's holding it looks like a candle or a rod, and above his head is the infinity symbol, and on a table there's a staff, a goblet, a sword, and a pentagram.
And these all have meanings. The pentagram is very important because the pentagram, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. By the way, Nick, I'm completely dominating the conversation. Do you want to jump in there, buddy?
No, I'm taking it all in. I'm most fascinated with Basilbaum. I've done a lot of research on the topic of him and the topic of Baal. I don't really know how to put a good definition on it, but it's very biblical. I find it to be extremely biblical. The type of stories, and I think the people that are most in tune with Basilbaum and the concept of Baal and these mythological creatures are those that are actually in power. One reason why
we'll get into that for sure. We'll definitely get into that.
The reason how I got into it was I was fascinated by this song, absolutely fascinated by this amazing song that was written by U2, and we all know U2 is a $1 billion it's a $1 billion band. It's the most profitable band in history, and you see who these people hang out with and who they're associated with, and how much power they have over the world. And Bono says he wrote a song about Basilbaum, and the whole album Achtung Baby is about the concept of Baal, which is pretty mind-blowing. And there's, in a lot of ways, there's all these subtle nuances how this concept of Baal and these mythological creatures actually influence our daily life without actually being cognitively aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, a lot of these guys are using the subconscious and magic to get what they want. We're basically living in a parallel. We have a parallel to another universe. These creatures actually have lives of their own, right?
Yep.
They can see us, but we cannot see. Well, some of us can't see them. I can kind of do it through divination.
If you read between the lines to a lot of the people that have the most power in the world, they actually tell you in some really crazy sense that they are in fact these people that we're discussing tonight. It's absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Also, let me just point out you basically said Jeff just mentioned they can see us but we can't see them, and that's a very interesting quote, and we'll get into it later. The more we dive into Sulaiman and the concept of jinn, we'll get into that later, because did you know that you just quoted the Quran right there?
Oh, really?
Yes, that's an exact quote from the Quran. So I'm kind of curious, where did you hear that before?
That's part of the teachings of magic.
Mm.
Basically explaining what. Okay, that's from the Hermes Trismegistus book, which I'm studying as well. It talks about an alternate reality that's basically over the top of ours. We can't see a consciousness, an energy, a bunch of different creatures. Now, all of these demons, all of these different spirits, there are angels in magic too. So I haven't gotten to that point yet because I'm studying this particular thing. I haven't contacted an angel yet, but I've been able to contact the lower realms easier than I can contact the higher ones. The angels, you have to purify yourself in order to come in contact with an angel more than you do with the other realms. Um, it's kind of a fascinating thing on how magic works. Let me break it down into two pieces. If I were to create magic using an angel, there's going to be an outcome. Let's say if I wanted money, right? I were to create some sort of sigil, and I were to use an angel to have that performed, to have that duty carried and taken out.
Mm-hmm.
The angel will help me get fired from my job so I can grow to get the money that I need in that spell that I asked for. The If I was actually here's another example. If I was a heroin addicted person, and I asked and I performed a ritual, and I actually used sigil magic to get me what I needed for money for my addiction, the demon would not care at all. Um, in fact, one's the spirit and one's the letter in performing magic. The angels are more concerned about our growth, and the demons are more concerned about the law, the contract. Um, it's a little different way of looking at it, and how you perform magic as a magician.
One's pragmatic and the other one is much more open to other things.
Open to teaching you life's lessons and paths.
Right, and the
Uh,
demons kind of steer you in one direction where you have to be inside the margins.
yeah, exactly. One is like I said, one is the spirit, and one is the letter, and so you're basically going to get the same results in some ways, but with kind of like a different slant to it. It's really kind of strange, and I don't really like, I don't like doing that with the spirits because I have to have a form of respect, because they can do things to your mind that, and we'll get into that later. I'll discuss some of the strange things that happen.
Okay, yeah, definitely we can talk about that. Do you want to kind of just backpedal a little bit to the Baal or the Baal? I
Yeah,
always
Baal.
I always read it as Baal, but the Baal. You were talking about that, and then kind of cut that off. Can you continue with the?
Oh, yeah, yeah, Baal. Sorry, getting into it. That's just one. There's so many different ones.
Yes.
Uh, you have
He's the main character of it all,
well, yeah,
and I know mostly about Bale and Beelzebub, which is his minion. And I look at Beelzebub's the same way as modern day jihadists, disposable male almost. If you understand what Beelzebub truly is, it's about being the just a foot soldier,
oh
who
yeah,
looks at the world through
uh-huh.
a total different prism, where it's like
Yeah,
I'm an island to myself and I'm looking at everyone else out there watching you all, and you all in a lot of ways he says you all point to Baal, you all point to Lucifer, you all point to the one, the highest at the top, the alpha dog. But what about us, the minions, who push it for him? No
well,
one
yeah,
asks questions about us. No one ever bothers to grab the minion and understand his life story through his lens. And I thought that was a really cool definition what Beelzebub is. As far as the characters, I don't know too much about them.
well,
What would be
okay,
one that you would resonates with you or you
well,
like?
okay.
Okay.
So
Hey,
one,
wait,
the
wait.
one,
Hold on, Jeff. I want to just add to what
okay,
Lamprey just said
sure, but
for you guys. Then we'll get into that. But um,
okay,
what I found interesting is when you mentioned to me about this the Keys of Solomon and this book.
uh,
And I first looked through it. The first name that comes up is Bale, right? I mean, that's the main one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And months ago, before you even brought this up to me, I had a dream, and it's funny because I still remember it. It's just the you know, sometimes you have dreams and they just stick in your head. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-mm.
you're
Oh
very,
yeah, things like that happen.
sometimes you just forget them, but other times they just really stick. But this one dream, I found myself in this kind of a post-apocalyptic city. It looked like where everything kind of was destroyed and that kind of thing. And there were these winged humanoids flying around, which they could have been like
Yep.
angels or demons. It's hard for me to remember exactly what, but
But
these winged humanoids flying around, and I remember they came down. I felt threatened by them, but they eventually caught up to me, and they told me about a book that has not been found yet, and it was
oh,
called
there.
the Bale Bella. That was the name of the book. That was a dream. It was bizarre, but that name, I mean, it's somewhere in my subconscious, man. So bizarre.
Yeah, yeah, and people all basically everybody has a connection to that particular realm through their dreams. The dreamscape is a way of connecting to possibly the other side, different forms of reality and different ways of seeing things. That it's you can get a lot of premonition through your dreams. I've had that happen to myself, where things just basically pop up, and oh yeah, that's what that was about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of fascinating how that works.
But that was Bale. I
But
mean, that was where the name Bale. When you showed it to me through the links you sent me, and I saw that name, I'm like, holy shit, man! I had a dream about that.
okay, I'll give you. This is gonna kind of
He's Satan. He's Satan. He's Lucifer, basically. If you really
well,
want to just break it down.
Is he?
well, let's break down Lucifer. What is Lucifer? Lucifer is this is what I understand through other magicians' point of view what Lucifer is. Now, see that has a lot of different meanings. It's kind of like the devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about that before. The people that believe in the devil the most, a devil or the devil, I find to be, and not to offend anybody, but the Catholics seem to love this. They have this obsession with devil and Satan. But when I study the Book of Solomon, Satan is not mentioned anywhere in the 72 Goetia. Nowhere.
Did you know that? Did you know that Lucifer, the word Lucifer, only exists once in the entire Bible, and that's the Old Testament. One time.
Oh yeah,
It's
he's the bringer of light.
you know. Well,
And
you mentioned Satan, the word Satan, and that's a word that is an Arabic word or a Hebrew word, because you have to remember Arabic and Hebrew and Aramaic, they're all sister languages. So
Yeah.
so basically the Hebrew, there's very little difference between the Hebrew language and the Arabic language except for the caricatures they use in their alphabet, and that's it. It's almost the same damn language, and the word shaitan in Arabic is a contraction of two words, shaitan, which means a thing of clay.
oh yeah, like a golem.
It's just a thing of clay. That's what it means.
Oh yeah.
So
What I find interesting. Go ahead.
I think the meaning of the devil and Satan has been really twisted out of context. Anyway.
Well, I mean, you have to have opposites in order for things to work, in order to manipulate somebody's way of thinking. So you have God, and I'm not saying God doesn't exist. God does, but in the universe you have to have a positive and negative, and that's how it functions.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way around it. That's how the universe works. For every good, there's an evil of equal and opposite value. So you can't, if you create something good, it doesn't mean you have to do something evil, but there will be something that kind of offsets it and balances it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a strange philosophy when you get into magic. You have to think in a different kind of way, and you have to redefine what evil is, because if you are oppressed, you learn quite a bit more. If you're getting tested, you're finding out who you are, and if you don't have those tests, you will never know. And that's part of magic right there in its own sense.
It's
Some of these.
MGTOW right there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we've learned lessons of what it is to be around women. We understand them, and women have a very powerful magic to themselves because of the simple fact that if you went to the Bible, uh, man defied God basically because of woman,
Yep.
and that's
Yes.
a very powerful. That's a very powerful magic right there. That's rooted in the subconscious for sure. Some of the primitives.
Well, the Adam and Eve story is absent in the Quran. It mentions Adam, but Eve is not. She's non-existent.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not too familiar with that because I'm not familiar with the Quran. But that's interesting.
Hmm.
There's another take. There's also another. Supposedly, there's another woman before Eve, and so the Bible has been basically cut up in some pieces. So you have a Lilith, and Lilith was not pulled from Adam, but Lilith was actually kind of Adam's first. If you're going with myth, Adam's first
Mistress.
divorce would be Lilith. Yeah, well, no, first divorce would be Lilith, and he had to go. God had to go back and make because she was so rambunctious. He had to go back and pull a rib from Adam.
So God fucked up with the first woman he made.
Yeah, he fucked up with the first one he made. So he had to go back to the drawing board and make a new one.
and the new one he made had to be like part man. It's like, Jesus
Yeah, it'd be
Christ, I'm
part-
not going to do that again. I'm just going to take.
And it had to eat the apple and ruin it for Adam.
Exactly. Yeah, she got her him some food, and everything went to crap from there. But according to the Bible, God was worried that after they ate the knowledge of good and evil, that they would become like Him and actually become immortal. God, because we ate that particular piece of fruit in the Bible, and this is where a lot of the magician stuff comes from. We have the knowledge to learn or do things that God does through magic, or like mathematics. Right now, we're learning more and more. So he put a flaming sword and an angel to make sure that we as human beings can go back into the garden, so that we become immortal and be like God. He was threatened by the fact that we have knowledge of good and evil, those two things.
Mhm.
And he wasn't not scared, but just he didn't want us to I don't know, ruin things, so to speak.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the way I see it in the Bible. That's in Genesis. A lot of interesting stuff about that. And also he gave charge to Adam to oversee have dominion over everything on the earth, every seed, every animal, every creeping thing.
Yes.
And in that way, it's like, okay, God's giving me permission to control things around on the earth. And so it doesn't say how, it doesn't say in what way. So as a magician, I can apply that in the arts that I'm using now with the Temple of Solomon.
How they describe it in the Quran, maybe in the Bible too. I don't remember. 'Cause it's been a while since I've gone through the Bible, but they called Adam the vicegerent of the earth, which is basically sort of a keeper or a caretaker.
Yeah. Basically taking on the way a magician would see God. A magician would see God as not as a person, but more as a position, like an operator.
Right.
It's a different term. You're trying to improve your situation by kind of messing with reality a little bit through kind of jacking your subconscious to understand things in a different way, to come up with solutions that nobody else will come up with, to see things in a different way. We, as MGTOW men, we've had this happen to us. We went through a divorce, which pulled us out of a way of thinking that society is currently in.
Snapped
And
us out of the magic spell.
Yeah, the magic spell of society.
Yeah.
And the rituals that we go through on a day-to-day basis, that we are unconscious of and that we constantly go through. So in actuality, I consider basically all MGTOW men magicians, because we see the lie of society. We broke out of it it took something very traumatic to make our subconscious go, hang on, something's not going right here. And so now we're trying to figure out a way from all of that and finding some sort of peace and some sort of harmony in our own lives. We are not accepting the narrative, okay, you do this, this, and this, and this, and everything will be fine. We are now taking charge of our reality in order to make change and talk about it amongst ourselves and have things change around us even more through conversation and coming up with new ideas. That's magic as well. Magic is everywhere, basically. That's how I see it.
You know what else? You know what's another example of magic I witnessed today?
What?
Was MGTOW Warrior making a woman in the chats disappear.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That
was amazing.
You know, when you show people your way of looking at things, this is what I've experienced since, having these conversations with AM and doing these live streams, is when I do present my alternative view on reality, people are quite horrified. And then when you really methodically walk them through on why you view the things the way they are, they're like, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. That's really depressing. That's usually the response I get.
Well, here's the thing: you gotta give them. Some people can take the milk, right? Some people you gotta feed them the milk of reality, and sometimes you have to give them the meat. And men eat meat when it comes to knowledge. Well, we're not afraid of. We know eventually we're gonna get older and we're gonna have aches and pains and stuff's got to happen. Things need to change. Things need to get done. Mm-hmm. We need to be the ones who do it. Women. Very few women will go out there and make that happen. They won't take that risk. The big reason why I went into magic, and there's a lot of negatives that I'm going to be facing because of it. In fact, I've had to deal with a lot of interfering psychology, interfering spirits to try to change my perception and stop me from learning something new. So I have to fight them and battle with them all the time on a through ritual, through interpersonal conversation. Your ego has a personality outside of who you are. You can actually talk to your ego. I know that sounds strange, but your ego will do things and make you do things if you don't keep it in check.
Well, yeah, you communicate, especially in North America, as we become a much more like this self, this militant individualism, is you're communicating with the false self. Both men and women communicate with it.
Well, that's what happens when you talk to yourself, man. Really, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Who are you talking to when you talk to yourself?
Yeah, you're talking to your other level of your mind.
Your ego,
Carl.
Man.
Yeah, your ego, your subconscious, exactly. Your ego is the dominant. It's kind of hard to explain. Your ego is the one dominant spirit in the 72 Goetia of your mind. So, if your ego is the one that's in charge, that would be Baal, of course.
Right.
And that's the one that has the most power. That's the one speaking on behalf of everyone else. And they're fighting constantly for dominance to get certain things out there and their points across. I have actually, I've been looking through this. Some of these particular demons actually want to go back to, or they call it here spirits in the actual book.
I have a list. Yeah, this is one. It says this one says the 72 spirits of Solomon actually.
Exactly. So, but what's happened is you've got an ongoing idea or concept that, I mean, you could debug. Okay, it's kind of like this is really weird. This happens in society. I'll give you an example of where something has a life of its own. Mm-hmm. Look at the pay gap, right, between men and women. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how many times that's been debunked, but that idea cannot be killed. It has a power of its own.
Yeah.
It has a life of its own, and it keeps on coming back.
Like Hillary Clinton.
Well, look at this, guys. I'm sharing the screen now. Look at this. The 33rd demon listed on the Solomon. His name is Gap.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe he has to do with the fucking pay gap that won't go away.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, you have to, what agendas all these creatures have their own personal agendas.
Yeah.
All of them, they have certain things. They will fight with each other, and they all have different religions. Kind of like what we have, except and we have, mankind has duplicity too. There's a lot of similarities between that particular realm and our realm here. And there are good spirits in there that you can actually contact. They are called. They have a good way about them. They are friendly. But there are some in there that if you actually summon, they will kick your ass back. They will make things happen. You will stub your toe. You will turn your ignition in your car, and it will start. You will ignore something on the road, and where it will when you're driving, and it will hit you. You will be in a bad mood and misunderstand everybody and piss everybody off. These little creatures can cause some great havoc in your life if you don't keep them in check. There are prayers involved in the Book of Solomon as well. So this is more of a religious book. You have to have some piety. You have to acknowledge the angels during days of the week, and when you're performing rituals. It's a science. It's a step-by-step method. There's a lot to it. It's I don't think a woman could get through this book. I really don't. I think this was designed for men, basically.
Oh, I
I
believe
think
that.
science.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of like the STEM fields, man.
yeah,
Women can't really get through it. Most women can't.
yeah, because it's too complex. I mean, it's not easy. If you're going into religion makes you feel good about yourself, and you don't have to answer for anything. In my opinion, a lot of religions do. Not every religion, but a lot of religions do. So you're always supplicating to a supervisor all the time. Men do not like this. We don't like to supervise. We like to lead. We like to lead the charge. And in Magic, you are in charge of your own reality. You are in charge of, at least from the path that I'm taking. There's two paths. There's a right hand path and there's a left hand path.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a man, I chose the left hand path because I'm taking charge. The right hand path in Magic is supplication, asking for permission, uh, constantly repenting, not, you know, just accepting what happens to you all the time. Um, and that's the right hand path. I chose black magic, which is the left hand path, which is taking charge of your reality like a boss,
Mm-hmm.
and not like a bitch, basically.
Right.
And that's the difference between the two sides of magic. There are two sides in magic. There are two sides in, I think, every religion. But on in my belief, that's how it works.
Well,
So
going back now, the book that you mentioned, were you talking about the Clavicula Salomonis Regis, or Le Lemegeton? Is that the book you were talking about? That's not
I'm a
good.
kid.
That's not meant for women. Lemegeton.
I do not know.
That's
Well,
because that's
yeah,
the name.
the book.
That's the Key of Solomon. That's the name of the Lesser Key of Solomon book.
Okay, so I've got three books in one. So you get I've got there's three books that I'm reading from. The Lesser Keys of Solomon in one volume. So I've got kind of like a collaboration of all three. The Testament of Solomon explains some things about Solomon, and of course you've got the Lesser and the Greater Keys of Solomon. But there's more to it than that. I'm in the beginning of magic. I'm kind of a noob in some ways, but I will be exploring more about it. And I don't think anybody can truly be an expert on magic at all. There's just too many books. There's what I've been studying so far. There's Italian magic. Magic goes back before the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's been around with us for a long time. It was used by Christians. It was used by pagans. There's a Wiccan version of it for women. Uh, it's all around us. It's a constant force within the world. The fact that it's kind of been stifled and has been basically demonized to where we don't look this way, don't learn about this new thing. makes me want to go and learn about this new thing because I once again, I defy the idea of being supplicant or I defy the idea of being ruled over by the normal ways of doing things in society. I will not do that. And I think a lot of people have that similar idea. They don't want to be told what to do, especially if you're a take charge type of individual. But anyway, continue. Do you have anything else to add to this?
Well, as far as I wanted to kind of bring to the attention of the listener that the book or the grimoire, the Key of Solomon, these books, they don't actually date back to the time of Suleiman.
No, 15th to 16th century. Some of them, the 17th century.
Yes, between the 14th and 17th century, basically, a lot of these books. So what we're talking about is a history that does come from a reference of a biblical and a Quranic prophet of God in his story and his life, and later, much later, if it's the 15th century, we're talking about 1600s. These books came into being. So how accurate it is to actually put that information on the Wisdom of Solomon is hard to know.
Well, here's the thing that I find fascinating about when these books were made, or when these books came into being, more or less from wherever they come from. There's not a lot of information about them. I'm still doing research on it, but when it comes to the author or who was inspired to write them, the fascinating thing is this was done during the Renaissance period, and when these grimoires were around, you had people like Leonardo da Vinci, and a lot of it's kind of interesting because a lot of his drawings, if you look really close to things in Magick, you can actually see the human form. In fact, the star actually looks a lot like a human outstretched, basically.
Right.
And there's some magic tied to that as well. We have stars and stripes in the flag of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an occultic symbol. The star is definitely occultic. Also, as I told you before, if you go from one direction to another in a star, you can spell out the name Allah. Mm-hmm. A star also represents another thing. A star represents fire, earth, water, and the mind or the spirit. So I mean, there are some other things that go along with fire, earth, water, air, and the spirit or the mind. So I mean, these things all have meaning, and they do affect the way we see things. And what I find kind of interesting is how much of that is actually in society. I'm going to kind of break away from the idea of the grimoire for a second and go into a little bit of numerology. Sure. I don't know if you've heard about the number 7, right?
As it being lucky.
Lucky. 777.
As it being lucky, as it being there are seven days. There are 7 days of the week.
Right.
Seven's is a lot of stuff. Well, what I find fascinating, and I'm making a really offhanded connection, but you were talking earlier about the trade towers, right?
Right.
You were talking about how they went down. Have you noticed that there was a number 7 building that went down as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, number 7. 7, 3, 9 are constantly around, and these all are basically magical numbers. They're signifiers. They're kind of like, hey, we did this. We're part of the deal. This is what's going down. This is what's happening. It's kind of a way of communicating to people to let them know that there's more to reality than basically what you're seeing.
Well, the number three definitely distorts reality because when you have two of something, it runs parallel. It's working together. There's cohesion. You add the third to it, the mix to throw it all off course.
Oh yeah. Hey, can you guys do some news real quick? I gotta take a break.
Okay, how long do you need?
Just a minute.
Okay, well, we don't need to do some news, but I'll kind of pick up where you
Kind of
left
hang.
off.
That'll work. Thanks.
Okay.
You're back.
Yeah, one of the things I want to bring up that we're going to get into, I know, in this second hour of the show here, is the concepts of not just the grimoire or these books of Solomon, but where it really comes from. And we will get into the concept of what is known as jinn. Now, Lamprey, do you know what a jinn is?
No.
You don't know what a jinn is? Come on.
Spell it.
Jinn. Jinn. Or sometimes with a D. DJINN.
Not a clue.
Come on, man.
All right, I'm back.
So
What is it?
What I missed?
So I was, what I basically said while you were away is that though we are talking about these grimoires of Suleiman or Solomon, eventually we'll kind of get into the history of Solomon himself.
Oh yeah.
And
some of the interesting stories that basically started the whole grimoire itself.
Yes, exactly. And
yeah.
And not just the history, but the history does involve jinn. And so we will talk about jinn. However, I just asked Lamprey if he knew what a jinn was, and he didn't know.
Oh, really? Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
Oh, hey, that reminds me. I was looking up a particular. There's a place where the jinn are supposed to congregate. It's actually in. I looked it up. It's in Palestine. It's a cave where the spirits of the jinn stay.
Yeah.
If you want to look.
Well, if it's in Palestine, then its roots are connected with Islam, and if its roots are connected with Islam, then whatever the Quran says about jinn, it just debunks everything that these people talk about. These Muslims, these brand Muslims, man, they don't even read the Quran anymore, so they don't get it. They don't understand. And the paper that I sent you and I sent Lamprey earlier today is basically debunking the Quranic concept of some kind of invisible demon that goes by the name of jinn. In fact, all evidence points to the fact that they are a separate race of human beings that came down at the exact same time as Adam. They're not invisible. They're not supernatural. They are, in fact, the people that are running the show. They are your George Soroses. They are your Bushes. They are your Rockefellers. Those are the jinn, and this supernatural ability that they say that they've written. Remember, these people write history. They wrote that shit.
True.
They wrote that shit.
True.
They want us to believe they're somehow supernatural, but that's because they want to be able to see us while we cannot see them when they're standing right in front of our fucking faces. So, we'll get into that a little bit later, and I can kind of go into detail on those concepts. But despite that, when it comes to Solomon, suddenly there's this concept of jinn, and you have to understand too, in the Bible there is no jinn mentioned in the stories of Solomon. That only comes from the Quran.
Yeah, there's nothing in the Bible about jinn.
No,
not at all. But there are spirits that it's kind of interesting because the Bible actually talks about Jesus turning water into wine, and that is a kind of a power that you can get off of the spirits in order to do that. So that's kind of interesting that there's a connection there as well. But you're right. Hang on. I do believe there are people who are in power structures guiding things. There's a I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but there's a video on explaining who these people are, and there are some people who can actually see. I know there's a mark that's supposed to be able to be seen on these people, and it takes a certain kind of person with the right kind of eyesight to see it. That marks who is running the show.
Really, I
So you
didn't know
probably,
about that.
yeah, you probably didn't know about that. It's because some of us have actually got the ability to see in a certain spectrum, and some of us don't.
Mhm.
And those people that can do that, that can trace their lineage all the way back to pretty much back to Noah, they have that kind of gift and that ability to be able to see a mark on the people that are basically that bloodline.
Mhm.
And that's kind of interesting because they're seeing a different kind of spectrum. They're the exception to the rule of not being able to see things because we're blind. So that's kind of a fascinating thing.
Well, if we go, I mean, as far as Solomon is concerned, and we can get into a little bit of the history of that, is that, again, this is a prophet of God, according to the Quran and in the book of the Bible. Yes, he was favored by God, but his history in the Bible involved magic. It
Oh,
involved
true,
the
yeah.
it involved the use of magic, and it involved black magic. And if you go by the story in the Bible, Solomon basically abused this power he had, and kind of turned away from God. So the story of Solomon in the Bible is one of a fall from grace.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it does involve magic.
Mhm.
The story of Solomon in the Quran is completely different. Um, and basically, the story in the Quran is he did not fall from grace. That was a made up. The Quran saying that was made up. That didn't happen.
Mm.
The magic did happen, but it wasn't the fault of Sulaiman. It was the fault of people around him. But he was steadfast and loyal to God. So
Oh, yeah,
they're
yeah.
very different stories, but magic is involved.
Oh, of course. One of the stories where the story of Solomon basically came from, the first actual spirit that he captured and used. It started with one of his workers actually. Um, he had a really. They were building a temple. One of his stonemasons, one of his stone workers, were they were out there working hard, doing everything, and he paid him money to build. Here's a guy that's tough and
He's a
uh,
king.
he's yeah. I mean, and he's out there paying one of his helpers, and he's wondering why he's getting so thin. And so what it ends up happening is he goes and asks him, "Well, why are you so thin? I'm paying you double portion. I'm feeding you, and all of this." And the guy says, "Well, when I fall asleep, there's this evil spirit that comes by and takes my food and sucks the rest of the food out of my thumb like a vampire." And so Solomon tells him, "Okay, hang on. Uh, I'll." Yeah, he goes out and gets a ring, and he gives it to the kid and tells him to throw it into his chest. And that the kid does that, and he ends up. Solomon tells the kid to tell the spirit to come back and talk to him.
Hmm.
And the kid turned around when he threw that ring inside the chest of the demon to compel him to come back to him. The demon came back, and that's where where things started to snowball from there, because that particular spirit turned around and screwed over the rest of the other ones in order for Solomon to gain control and to find out who was top dog in the demonic hierarchy. So that's just a little side note on that.
Yeah, that's the biblical. That's a biblical version?
This is more of a magical kind of like side note of the Solomon. This is not in the Bible. This would be in some of the mysticism in magic, to where it came from. That's pretty much it right there.
Okay, that is that part of the grimoire? Is that mentioned in the grimoire?
No, this is kind of like something else I heard. It's not right there, but it kind of explains where it comes from. So it's
Well, there's to kind of see the difference. Unfortunately, I'm not that familiar with kind of exact quotes from what how Suleiman is mentioned in the Bible. It's been a long time since I've gone through the Bible, but in the Quran, there's a verse in it's Al-Baqarah, which says, "And follow that which the devils falsely related against the kingdom of Solomon." Solomon disbelieved not, but the devils disbelieved, teaching mankind magic, and that which was revealed to the two angels in Babel, Harut and Marut. So basically, the Quran kind of comes out. It's kind of like God sort of said, "Okay, I'm going to fix what these people fucked up in the Bible, and I'm going to tell you what really went down." And he says Suleiman didn't believe the devils. He was steadfast to God. But there were devils that were teaching magic to mankind at the time. So there's still that magic connection, yeah.
And well, here's the thing. I'll give you an example. Let me look through some of the stuff that they actually teach.
Well, let me as you're doing that, let me finish reading a part of this, because it makes it's very, very interesting. This is one of the most fascinating verses that I've ever come across in the Quran. So it says, Solomon disbelieved not, but the devils disbelieved, teaching mankind magic and that which was revealed to the two angels in Babel, Harut and Marut. Nor did they, the two angels, teach it to anyone till they had said, "We are only a temptation, therefore disbelieve not." And from these two angels people learn that by which they cause division between man and wife.
It's interesting.
So here you have, and I brought this up before on the chat at some point, but here you have the story of Suleiman, which we were going over in his grimoire, and we're talking about magic. How magic is related to that time, and how this verse is saying that they falsely accused Suleiman of committing these crimes with magic, but he didn't, and that these two angels were teaching magic to people, but not teaching them to use it for wrong, basically saying we are a temptation. Don't stop believing in God, but here is magic, right? So they're teaching. Hold on, they're teaching these people magic, and the one magic spell that God decides to use as an example in this verse, and I'm sure he could have used a million different examples, but the one he chose to use is, people learned that by which they cause division between man and wife.
Oh yeah, true.
I think it's poetic.
Yeah, very much. That's one of the reasons why I need to read the Quran. There's a lot of magic in there. There's a lot of different ways to look at things. Very, very powerful. It's interesting. Oh.
Yeah, the man and wife, the magic to separate a man and his wife. That's the magic that we're seeing today, my friend.
Exactly. That's what we're seeing today with the current setup of the U.S. completely out of control. The Constitution has no more power anymore. It means nothing. They just bypass it altogether. There are no ethics. There are no values. There's nothing. We're pretty much
into the abyss. Yes, we are.
Exactly. We're set up and ready to go right to the next side or to the next level. So that's how I can see it. But magic's a lot of interesting things. I'm stuck on the subject. It's an addiction. I swear, magic is something that can addict you.
Sure.
But
you were going to go over something in the book there.
Oh yeah. I was going to talk about what some of these particular creatures, these particular demons actually teach. They can actually appear as angels. So that could actually tie into the Quran. Some of them can actually mislead you by appearing as an angel. But some of these spirits will actually teach you the art of rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
And they can also, this one in particular, Nibiris, number 24.
Okay.
This is the 24th spirit. He is the most valiant marquis, and showeth in the form of a black crane fluttering about the circle. And when he speaketh, it is with a hoarse voice. He makes men cunning in all sciences, but especially in the art of rhetoric. He restoreth lost dignities and honors. He governeth 19 legions of spirits. His seal is this, and it basically tells you have to wear it when you're performing a ritual. So there's an example right there of one particular demon that teaches the arts and the sciences. There's another one that teaches mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
Another one teaches you how to be cunning and how to be witty. They all have particular gifts and abilities that they bestow on the magician that decides to conjure them up and compel them.
No, when you say conjure them, like summon them?
Yeah, you can actually. Okay, there are demons within this circle of demons. All these different offhand that can actually kill another demon. It can actually tempt them. They are temptable. They can tempt each other. They can also, if you use some of Solomon's magic, you can combine them together to form another seal and another purpose. Kind of like one watches the other and makes sure that they don't do something they're not supposed to do.
Right.
That they can influence each other. I really do think that a lot of this magic and this stuff that came into being has caused our reality today. And to make a connection with Quran, it is very possible that the end game is what we're seeing now, where there's a division between man and woman. It took a while,
Mm-hmm.
but our luxurious living, our ability to have things on demand, our lifestyle has made it to where women do not appreciate men, and because they live in a complete world of utter comfort. Because I'm a MGTOW man, I basically see that there's a need for leverage. There's a need for a women valuing man for what they can do, their work, things like that. But in this society, there's none of that. Women do not see our value. They cannot see us as a.
Well, you're not needed anymore. Everything's done. Everything's in place. Now you're just coasting it at this point in the first world. You can see, third world countries and even second world country, there's still a need for dominant masculine characters.
For a patriarch.
Like farmers and like people that work at the farms and things like that. There's a need for it, but because we've got science, right, and this is direct manipulation between these supernatural creatures and people like Da Vinci, people like Pythagoras, people like Sir Albert Einstein. Not Sir Albert Einstein, but Albert Einstein would be another example. People like that. We now have a society where everything is handed to us. Everything is easy and simple, and it's basically breaking apart society because, once again, if you don't have oppression, if you don't have some hard work, if you don't have something that challenges who you are, then you don't grow as a person, thereby driving a man and a woman apart because women don't see the value in men. In so many words.
It'll come back and haunt them, and it's going to happen within our lifetime. There's no question about that.
Well,
I can only go ahead.
The pendulum swings. I mean, the pendulum's going to swing back in guys' favor at one point or another. And the question is, I guess, obviously, is when. But as long as the debt train keeps on steam rolling and there's no war, that's really up to debate.
Oh yeah. It's a matter of time before money has absolutely no value whatsoever. It's just a matter of time, and there are limited resources, so there are consequences for what's going on. Eventually, those things will catch up to us.
Yeah.
So you see, there is a limit on wine consumption for the modern decadent Western wench.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the modern Western wench wouldn't know what to do with herself if her level of consumption was sated.
Oh, it'll be great. It'll be glorious. I'm gonna bathe in that moment if it ever does happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's
Oh,
gonna
you
be.
need my help now. Oh, I see. You said it was okay to bring in the Mexican illegals. I said no. You said yes, and you just kicked and screamed when I said it's not a good idea.
Exactly. No,
Believable, man.
no understanding of consequences whatsoever. So
Mm.
we are on that pathway. We need to get back on the track of independence, independent thought, independent thinking, not trying to be part of the herd. Not going along with the status quo. Uh, it amazes me how many times I will bring up a very uh, interesting subject, something that's not football related, and most people will zone out and say, "Well, what do you mean by that?" They don't have a concept of it.
Right.
So I like for
You
instance, they
sound
know
like a
that
fag. Back to watching football.
yeah, you're not watching football. What's going on with you? People like their boxes. People enjoy having their comfort. This is how it is. This is the way it's always been. This is the way it's always going to be. If you try to break them out of their thinking patterns with something new, they go, "What? I don't get it. No, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the way things were. Nothing to see here." And we kind of I personally think we kind of need to break people out of that, and that's what we're doing with the show. That's what we're doing with these conversations between men.
Well, I, well,
We're
I think they are because when you watch modern day TV and the commercials telling your son to wear high heels, I think the average layman's starting to wake up to a major problem.
Well, yeah, exactly. The one side of the same coin. So you've got two sides. You've got the male and you've got the female, and women are now dominating the whole thing. They basically wore us down, is what they've done through psychological means from the time that we were a child up till now over the millennia, and so we're seeing the effects of that. Men have been basically pulled out of the home for economic reasons to fight wars, and that's completely changed. That's completely changed the society in general, probably by design. If you think about it, what happens when you go to war? When you go to war, there's a lot of men that are basically killed. Now, here's a little conspiracy for that.
Mm.
If you take all the guys out, who's left to vote? Women are.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a mass number of women that are out there voting, so it changes society through their votes. When you destroy men and all of that, then you end up changing. Women are more of a feeling creature. They're not logic. They aren't based in the hard sciences. They're more of a feeling thing. So they will feel, and you can manipulate somebody through their feelings, thereby changing society and making it move
Well,
one direction or another.
there's no greater magical spell than a woman's crocodile tears.
Exactly, and that works on men because we're worn down
Mm.
through our
Oh,
constant supplication.
the modern man. I mean, look, the population of an American, a Caucasian American, is declining. He's the only one that declined in the. I think according to the UN, like the health index and stuff, like they measure life expectancy, and it's going down in North America. A lot of it's to do with heroin. Again, why are men choosing to do such hard drugs? Because they have no purpose. You see,
Yes.
and you bring in welfare into the mix, makes it much worse, exasperates the problem, and I, I don't know if people like that are truly waking up, but it's not good, and idle hands are the work of the devil. There's no doubt about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's definitely something going on here that we're unaware of. So, but at the same time, I'm getting back to getting away from the, like I said, duality in everything. There's duality in these particular groups of Magick as well. So, what we're basically doing is we're basically, I don't know. Well, I kind of do know how I see society going is we're basically being controlled by magic or ideas or concepts that,
Absolutely.
like you said, for instance, when you were talking about Solomon,
Mhm.
um, and the two angels coming down. Now they taught magic, and so magic is math, magic is science,
Yes.
and we are reaping the benefits of it right now by losing the connection between men and women. Um,
Yeah.
so simple as we need to control that, and just because you get knowledge doesn't mean you have to use it. Uh, just because you have a shiny toy doesn't mean you have to apply it to society and lose everything. So I mean,
Exactly.
um,
It was a
it's
test. I mean, that magic was, in a sense, a test to human
it's a
beings.
test for man. Yeah, it's a test for mankind. Do you really need it?
Yeah.
I mean, take a look at take a look at some other societies where they're tempted by it all the time.
Hmm.
Your Amish or your some of those communities, they're doing just fine. They don't require electronics. They don't require the neatest new toys. And as for science, they don't have it, and their societies are doing just fine. They're not falling off. There's respect between men and women because they respect the roles and the positions that they both serve. They
Hmm.
both have. And in society, we don't have that. We're off balance, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. I hate to say it.
Hmm. Well, the again, like going back to that verse, is it always fascinated me, but that the one example that was used was separating men from women, because the foundation of any society is a man and a woman. I mean, that's how we
Oh yeah,
reproduce. That's how we have families. You tear that apart, and you tear the whole fabric of society apart. So that's the magic that was taught, and was taught as a test, and it's being
oh yeah,
applied, and now it's being applied. We're victims of it.
exactly. We are victims of our own success,
Hmm.
and once again, without oppression, we're not humbled. Women don't subjugate themselves to men, so we're in a situation where uh, because we listen too much to these particular guiding forces, we are now in a place where there's a division between men and women.
Hmm.
Because society is waxing exceptionally strong. There's very little true struggle. Let's get away from the idea of saying oppression, struggle,
Hmm.
to where we worry too much about every little thing that's happening going on. We need to get out there and build some things. We need to get out there and work harder. We need to get out there and actually do some work so we don't obsess about our little petty problems of in society where like Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is coming up right in a short period of time, and there's going to be a lot of men who are like, "What am I going to get for? What am I going to get for?"
Hmm.
You know, and so I mean, these are petty things. These are things that divide men and women. Those little problems, these little things. But if you didn't have technology and all these other gadgets, we'd be working hard. We'd be worshiping God more, and we would be in a better place. I think that was the test of mankind. Is just because you're taught a particular math or new knowledge
Hmm.
doesn't mean you have to take that path. You don't have to go that direction. Yeah, that's
Absolutely,
just
man.
throwing it out there.
Well, and also, so, well, let me just look at the comments for a second here. It was Greg Q goes, if the oligarchs are the jinn, that is, and I honestly believe they are. I think that the jinn, as it's described in the Quran, this is a race of people, and there's two races of people described in the Quran. One is al insan, and the other is al jinn. And al is an article. It's a an article in Arabic which means the. So al means
Uh,
the. It means the. So when we use the article al in front of a word, we're giving a specific definition to that article, to that noun. It's not
Interesting.
it's not a table. It's the table, right? So al is specific article. It's not jinn. It's the jinn. It's not insan. It's the insan. So basically, what the Quran is saying about this, and this ties into Suleiman and it ties into the magic and the concepts of jinn, but What's being said in the Quran is that there was two races. The father of the insan, of the race al-insan, was Adam. The father of the race of al-jinn was Iblis. That's his name. And it's very amusing that a lot of people that translate the Quran refuse to translate. They will translate Adam into English as a name, but when it comes to Iblis's name, they'll often disguise who that is by calling him Shaitan.
Shaitan, Satan. In other
Satan,
words.
yes. But that's a false translation. His name is Iblis, and it's said in the Quran his name is Iblis. But English translators will distort what is being said by falsely translating the word, and instead of just using his name, they'll translate it as Shaitan, which is Shaitan is a totally different Arabic word. I told you it means thing of clay. So
yeah, being of clay, exactly.
So what we have is, and in the beginning, this is really interesting too. This is not in the Bible, but I think this might be interesting to some of the listeners about the concept of these two races, al-jinn and al-insan. Also, in the Quran, a lot of translators will do a false translation. And what they'll do is they'll take insan, al-insan, and they'll translate it to humankind. But then when al-jinn comes, they won't translate it. They'll just leave it as jinn. So they refuse to translate the word al-jinn, but they'll translate the word ins. There's a lot of manipulation going on in translation that's happening that people don't realize.
Changing the dialect.
Yes, absolutely. They're trying to disguise. In my opinion, the jinn are trying to disguise who they really are. They don't want people to know who they are.
Well, I mean, and that would be the same for the Bible, because I also, here's the thing, because I study religion, some of it, not everything. I don't have perfect knowledge. My father-in-law, my first father-in-law, was he was a theologian, right? Mm-hmm. And I looked at the translation of the Bible between the Hebrew Greek to the Bible itself, and there's a lot of space open for something to be written in, and so it is a good possibility that you've got a lot of manipulation going on there, and a lot of different ways to use words to form opinions and to change society through. Mm-hmm. That's entirely possible.
Yes.
So I can see that happening.
Well, part of that, again, redefining words, and we've discussed this on this channel quite a bit, and it does relate to translation of different scriptures, how they manipulate history through translation. Now, the other. Well,
I mean,
no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you
what I was going to say is the meaning of, here's something that let's kind of like adjust into that concept there. The meaning of the word rape is actually becoming less and less.
Yes.
It's being watered down.
Yes.
As if we're trying to change society into a different form.
That's magic, man. Changing using words to change and manipulating the meanings of words. That's part of magic.
So basically, so through words we change society.
Yeah.
That is definitely magic. Using words to change perception.
Yes.
And changing the meaning of the word changes the entire society. If you get rid of no, or you get rid of hate, that's hate speech right there.
Yes.
Get rid of hate speech. You can't. You're making it so people can't convey a thought. They can't come together. They can be more easily controlled.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
That is magic.
And I mean, we've discussed this on the channel quite a few. And some examples, scripturally, an example is the word sodomite has left the lexicon of our language, and now it's gay. Gay used to mean happy. You know?
Yeah, gay used to be happy. It actually is being. I would call it being hijacked.
Yes, absolutely. That's magic to me, man. Like they're changing.
And you have here's the funny thing. You have an emotional response to that.
Yeah.
Right. When you think happy, your first thought in your mind is somebody smiling. Okay, so what they've done is hijacked that and made it more acceptable because it's now attached to a psychological response in your subconscious. Yes, that's magic.
There you go. Boom.
That's magic.
Magic.
There's a lot of stuff they're doing now in society. We can see that happen. You mentioned rape. Now rape can mean like, oh, I got too drunk and I regret having sex with him. That's rape now.
Exactly. Women have zero accountability in this.
Yeah.
Once again, I think we have a really calked version of government. Now, I do like the idea of concepts and laws. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But we are at the point now where we're back to where Rome was, where they. Are you familiar with history? Some familiar with
Yeah,
you're kind of
to some
history.
degree, yeah.
Okay, so Rome is a republic. We are a republic also. Okay, but we're like in the last parts of the republic. We're basically at the point where we're trying to see how far we can push things. How degraded can things become? How controlled can people be? Back during Rome, there was actually child support. There was welfare. There were immigrants that were coming in. There's a lot of the same problems we're having now, and I think that the government is basically the republic is more or less a kind of a cucked down version of how to run things.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a government that's truly strong, that's more masculine, this is a feminine form of government.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a strong government, you're looking at things like feudalism, things like I don't know, Kublai Khan,
Right.
or maybe even Pol Pot's. This is more of an aggressive government. What we're doing here, what we're doing in the West under a republic, even though it is invented by men, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on within that particular discussion of government. It's philosophy for one, and there's some mention within the discussions of Socrates all the way back to Greek, is that he constantly talks about the fact that he's being influenced by a demon, or he himself could be part of the jinn,
Mm-hmm.
because he has such sway over people and ideas and concepts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a possibility that he could have some of these ideas of government comes from that particular era.
Well, I'm one that believes that most people in political power of governments around the world are a descendant from that original jinn, which was Iblis, which people call Satan, which he wasn't a devil. He was flesh and blood. He grew old and died, just like Adam, on this world.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
And
yeah.
and they are addicted to their bloodlines. That's where the term blue blood comes from, because they want to trace their lineage back to the first father, which was which people translate as Satan, which is a false translation. He had a name. His name was Iblis. He was the same as us, except in his creation process, heat was added. That's the only difference, which is one of the reasons why they say they see us, but we don't see them, because they know their history. They know their history. We don't know our history. And
well, why do you think they keep bombing the Middle East so we don't learn our history?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of the Middle East. As I was explaining before, algebra is basically a Arabic creation.
It's an Arabic invention. But that kind of the mathematics and the astronomy of the Arabs came out of the golden age of Islam, like within 200 years after Muhammad had died. After that, it was hijacked. It was hijacked by Rome. It was hijacked.
Yeah. They hijacked it like a jetliner.
Yeah, basically, they just distorted it.
That was a good one. That's a dad joke right there. You're working your way up in the hierarchy. What am I in for? That's funny. Pretty good.
Yeah, man, and that's why there's a lot of this. They're rewriting history, man, and these are they know who they are. They know their bloodlines. They're obsessed with it. They're the ones that came up with eugenics. They're the ones that are obsessed with race and their own bloodlines. They're royalty. They are royalty. These are the jinn, man. You don't see them.
You can't even get close to these people.
No. That's why they see you, but you don't see them. It has nothing to do with invisibility. It has to do with power. And
of course.
And
they are in positions of authority. It's Okay, so you've got Donald Trump currently right now being the guy that's the all powerful guy in charge right at the moment.
Hmm.
It's kind of interesting because Trump is actually German. He that particular family comes from that location. I looked up some of their family crests, but there's not a lot on him. Barack Obama. Here's something that's really interesting. You're talking about things that we cannot see.
Hmm.
I tried looking up his family crest of arms. I can't find it.
Right.
He's hidden. He's also supposedly related to the Bushes, so
Yeah.
there is a connection. He's like a cousin,
Yeah.
and it's really strange that there's that kind of connection. I'm wondering how many other presidents are actually related to each other through blood.
Yeah.
I'd like to do the
A lot.
genealogy. of that.
Oh, a lot, man. And not only that, but when people spout off conspiracy theories of how our leaders they're Satan worshippers, they're not wrong, but they're not 100% right because again, like I told you, they twist the translations. They take the name of Iblis and they turn it to Satan, which is not a direct translation. That's a false translation. They do worship Satan in that sense, but who Satan is was just a human being, and it's their original father. It's their bloodlines they worship. So when they say they're worshiping Satan, they worship their bloodlines. They worship where they come from. And the original story was this. I'll explain this quickly to the listeners so they understand, and you guys as well. But the original story is this. God created Iblis before he created Adam. He created a jinn first. All right? Then,
So this, go ahead. Go ahead.
then he created Adam. And after God created Adam, God said, okay, I'm going to send Adam down to Al-Ard, or the earth, as a vicegerent for myself on earth. Okay? And then Iblis, who was a creation before Adam, was of the Al-Jinn. And the same process was in their creation. If you read the Bible, you read the Quran, the process is dirt. They formed it out of clay. He formed God. This is the metaphorical idea of concept of creation of man. They formed Adam out of clay. He also formed Iblis out of clay. The only difference was he added heat, a smokeless fire. Okay, that's what the Quran says. So he makes Iblis first. Then he makes Adam, same process, minus heat. Then he says to the angels and to Iblis, who was not an angel, he was an al-jinn. He says to them, I want you guys to all fall prostrate to Adam, bow to him. He will be my vicegerent on earth and his children. Okay? So Iblis says, are you kidding me? I'm not going to fucking bow to him. I'm better than him. Because he made him first. God made him first. So Iblis, it was the first act of racism, really. But in his arrogance, Iblis said, I'm not going to bow to him. You're out of your mind. I'm better than him. So then God goes, fine, you're banished. You're done. You were a mistake. You're gone. And then Iblis goes to God, no, give me respite. He said, and he pleads to God. He says, allow me respite until the last day. And he goes, I promise, if you give me this respite until the last day before you judge me, then I will promise you that I will do everything in my power to turn Adam and his children and his bloodline and lineage away from you, God.
You know what this sounds like? This almost sounds like Job, like a connection between those two books.
Yeah, Job's in the Quran as well. But this, basically what has happened here is, so then God says, fine, you both go down. He gives Iblis respite. He doesn't decide to judge him and punish him at that moment. He goes, fine, you go down and you try to turn all of Adam's children away from me, God says. We'll see. So he goes down. Iblis has kids too. He's not a ghost. He's not Satan. He's not a demon. He has kids, and he teaches his kids that their main objective, because God has punished him and given him the respite, he says, fuck that. I'm going to spend the rest of my existence and my children, their existence, trying to turn Adam and his kids away from God. That's their entire objective. So
this is So this is a spiritual battle between basically two brothers.
Yes, yes, and
Huh.
and Iblis, that's why the people in charge, their motivation. Everybody's trying to struggle to find the motivation. Why would they lie? Why is this happening? Very simple. They have a pact with their original father that says they will rule this world and they'll turn everyone else away from God. That's the goal.
Very fascinating. That's something that you don't hear at all anywhere, even in the. Wow,
It's not in the Bible.
that's it's not in the Bible at all.
No, it's been
It's
eliminated from the Bible. The Bible is a broken clock. It has some right stuff in there, but it's been manipulated and it's been
oh, of course,
changed.
yeah, translated quite a bit.
Yeah.
And manipulated by. This is what I find utterly fascinating, is that the Bible was translated by King James, and they took the Bible from England all the way back here, from when they were escaping to start this country. So they actually took a revised copy of the King James version over here
Hmm.
to start this government here in the U.S. I think one interesting thing you might want to. I think that you're on the right path with that, because when I was doing some research on George Washington, uh, there's a mention about the star families, right?
Hmm.
And if you look at things like the flag, right, there's a star. Then if you look at the family crest of Washington, he has the same star pattern.
Hmm.
And if you look at the connection between that, if you look at China and you notice their uniform, they have a star on there as well.
Yep.
So this is something that's hidden in plain sight
Hmm.
that nobody else either can't see or refuses to see it because they can't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to when you quoted the Quran earlier, and you didn't even realize it. They see you, but you don't see them, and that's something that the Quran talks about the jinn. In every instant that it mentions the jinn in the Quran, it's mortal. They're mortal. They're human. They're mortal. They have kids. That's what they are, and they are. They have one goal, man. But this is the thing: because they're mortal, they can have a change of heart. You see, they're not bound by some kind of. They're not bound eternally to follow their first father. They're not bound to that. Any jinn at any time can have a change of heart and turn away from
Oh,
that.
of course, jinns have free will, according to my understanding of
Yes.
that
Yes.
through magic.
Yes.
Yeah, they have free will. They can do good or they can do evil. So it's they're you can actually have jinns that are trying to work on behalf of other people, but the goal is domination. Of course.
Yes. Yeah. I mean that's how they're taught. I mean, that's how they're conditioned. I mean these families, they're breeding with other families and they're keeping this bloodline as close as they possibly can. They're very into eugenics. They feel superior, so they teach their children. I mean, if you grow up as a child in a family that is teaching you to, hey, you're better than the rest of these plebs, and your goal is to push them away from God. That's what you learn. That's who you become. It shapes you.
Oh, that is true. That's their form pattern. But here's the thing you want to consider, and this is a thought experiment.
Hmm.
They're very pathetic. They have to have power.
Hmm.
Here's a certain philosophy you have to think about when you're thinking about these people, right? These groups. Uh, the thing that you try to control ends up in the end controlling you because you have to react to it. You have to change your thinking patterns. You
Right.
have to adapt, and you have to adapt to that thing. So technically speaking, on a quasi level, they're not really controlling much. We're controlling as much as they are in some ways. They are trying to get us to hate God.
Yes.
Also, there's an interesting thing to consider about this whole process. I find this is a fascinating subject, very deep. Um, that's what they're trying to do. But we are through our poverty and our oppression, are forced by no choice of our own to become smarter, faster, and more able to adapt than them. They have too much privilege, we are stronger, faster, and smarter because of our poverty, because of where we've grown up. We are forced to learn.
Mm-hmm.
We are forced to grow. Through our oppression, we have power. That's that's a very strong statement when I say that. Through our oppression, we have power.
Yes.
Because our oppression motivates us to do more. Our oppression makes us smarter, makes us what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, basically.
Unless you're a Native American, then
Well, unless you're a Native American, that's the exception.
because if you're a Native American, then all you do is you get free money from the government your whole life, and you become an alcoholic.
And exactly, and they figured out a way to make that happen. Yes, exactly. But you also have to understand the culture of the Native American. I've got a Native American friend. Their culture, it was primarily matriarchal most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of governance from a matriarchal perspective. Now that doesn't work in our society. So because because it's just there's too much leisure in the society for Native Americans to function.
Mm-hmm.
Not and when you take out oppression, like you said, without some sort of oppression, without some sort of reason to overcome something, you become lazy, you become lethargic, your patterns of behavior change. They're not doing themselves any justice by if they're not working, if these star groups aren't constantly working on a day-to-day basis to try to improve themselves, then they're not these jinn. Then they're in trouble. They're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the jinn's magic will control your life. And
Yeah.
that's really what's happening now too. Is like the jinn that are in control. They know who they are. We don't. I'm calling them out. I know who they are.
They're in a lot of little magical societies. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that you probably don't know that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Queen Elizabeth is she's a druid, right? And a druid can be a female and a male. It doesn't matter what gender you are. So she's like a member of so many different little clubs, right?
Mm-hmm.
In magical circles. So at least Queen Elizabeth is. So there's some connection there. There's a little things that they're connected to everywhere. It's insane.
Oh yeah. And
groups.
And the royalty is jinn. That's who the jinn are. I know for sure. I want to kind of go to a couple of comments. Greg Q says, the jinn are in charge when they tell us a man named Bozo and Gates are the two richest men in the world.
Yeah, like Bill Gates.
And Bozo. Bezo.
Bozo, yeah.
Greg Q.
Yeah, well,
hold on.
That's
one more comment from Greg Q. Obama is the great-great-grandson of Jacob Dunham, original landowner. Now it is in the trust Obama controls of Indiana and Oklahoma. Obama is from one of America's richest bloodlines. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Definitely gin. He's definitely gin.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff hidden from him. If I was going to say, there's a good possibility, because we can't see him, I can't verify this, that it's a possibility that Donald Trump is like the exception, or maybe that bastard child they didn't know about.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the only one that's not a politician. And, I do believe that I definitely don't believe in the notion that he was picked prior to him running. I do not believe in that. I can't put stamp. Sorry, excuse me. I don't believe in that that narrative whatsoever.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I believe it either, but Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor of fucking California. Like, anything's fucking possible.
I'm sure he probably is another form of bloodline. It's a good possibility that he is. You can be.
Well,
any
he's
race,
very
right?
naive. I mean, he's proven that in the last few months on his how naive of an individual he truly is. Where he's walking around the halls of power and he truly has no idea what to do. That's pretty obvious compared to the prior regimes controlling the White House.
For sure. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's now going to try to do an executive order, which is actually a very dumb idea in my opinion, because what you're doing is you're creating a psychological narrative, more power for the executive branch when you do things
Right.
like that. So you're making a precedent within the mind of the people. The people will now say, well, okay, Donald Trump did it, now you can do it all the time. So he's in essence, by doing that, giving more power to his position, thereby creating more of a king position in the system of government. It's a form of manipulation. Most people can't.
Well, the same thing with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not the end all, the be all, and we keep saying the Supreme Court this, the Supreme Court that. No. There's still There's two other branches. You know,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you're giving more power to these positions when in reality they don't have these type of. We're basically giving it to them. The more we keep going down this path.
Yeah, basically what government is an idea or a concept. So basically that is magic.
Yes.
Now
that is magic.
Yeah, it's not a real thing. Government is not a thing. It doesn't exist. It's just a concept and an idea that has been reinforced in society over time.
It's like math.
And that is
the manipulation is a form of magic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're using magic. These I can make the connection. They're using magic. These families to manipulate mankind, and they're doing it through government. They teach.
Look how easy it is. It's all right out in front of you. If you just scratch the surface just a little bit, you realize how deep the rabbit hole truly is, and you wind up talking about jib.
Yeah, exactly. We're in the subject of talking about jinn. We're talking about magical demons, and they've got us. Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting how an idea can have power over the masses. And then once again, that goes back to the idea of what they're using to manipulate us with is magic. Words are magic. Math is magic. Then the families are using it to basically break down society, change ideas, and engineer and move things.
Well, and again, remember, the ultimate goal is to basically turn everyone away from God, from the creator, from the engineer, from the prime mover. That's their goal. That was sworn. That was an oath uttered by the first father of these families so long ago in front of God, and so it continues. Yeah. That's our destiny.
Look, the UN is definitely. I would say the UN happens to be the biggest culprit. Driving this car is the UN. And a lot of people say, "Oh, the UN doesn't really have power. I mean, they can't stop this, that, or the other thing in Africa. Look what they did over here. It's just a name. It's just a money pit." And to some extent, I certainly do agree with that. But if you look at the Declaration of Human Rights put forth by the UN. They're basically stating that they are God.
Yes.
We are the ones putting these narratives in place. If you put the UN Declaration of Human Rights up against the U.S. Constitution, you can see the U.S. Constitution clearly states our rights are given to us by God, where the UN says we are God. We're going to tell you what your rights are.
We give and take the rights away from you. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's something really interesting. It's one of there's truth if you look for it, right? There's knowledge if seeking you shall find. If you look for it, you'll find it. In just about everything you read. And here's an interesting thing that and this is way out of the ballpark. I'm free associating as we speak, but
that's all right.
Malcolm X basically said the same thing. If they can give you something, they can take it away, right?
Yes.
And that's basically the system of control they're using. If they can, I'll give you there's a prime example of that, really cool one. What they're using to manipulate us right now. They create a problem, right? And they're going to do that now they're doing that with men. They're doing that with countries. They're creating a problem, and they come in and they fix the problem so that they can have more control. They do that again and again and again and again. They did that with prohibition. They did that with drugs, and they get more control every time they fix a problem. They come in and become the savior of the situation to lead us to where we need to go. We become more dependent on them and their processes and their judgments and everything. We become dependent on their ruling us. We start thinking through our fictitious magical government that we need to have someone constantly fixing our problems all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing that right now with YouTube. Okay, we're pretty much screaming to the ruling class, these bloodlines, come in and fix our problems.
Yes. Censor
Come
us.
in, censor us.
Teach us how to think.
Come in and take care of this problem for us. Take care of these companies that are these social networks. These social platforms. Make it so we can speak again, O powerful one that you are.
Mm-hmm.
They're making us dependent on being dependent.
Yes.
I can see that perfectly.
Yeah, man.
That is. Oh, that's spooky. Very spooky.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, for sure, man.
Well, one of the takeaways I always got from when I learned about a lot of this stuff, not magic in particular, but a lot of the history of kind of where magic came from Quranically and all that. One of the things I took away from it is that this earth that we live on, it's not a paradise. It was never meant to be.
Yeah.
It's a test. It's a goddamn test, and it's a struggle. And your life is a constant struggle against these powers that are trying to tear you away from what's real, which is what God is. And that's why I don't try to pretend like life is I don't pretend like we should all strive and push towards making this utopia on Earth and making life a better place and kumbaya. That's bullshit, man. It's absolute bullshit.
You're right. You're right. We're the steel, and we're a knife. We're basically a knife. That's what we are. Human beings are basically a knife and the stone. We need to have something to keep us sharp.
Yeah.
If we don't have work or some sort of oppression or some reason to get up in the morning.
A meaning.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, meaning, a purpose in life. Then we start degrading. We start getting, like, for instance, in one of your other shows, we start hanging out with dogs. We have women that love dogs, and they spend time with their dogs because they've got no meaning in their life. They have no purpose. They're not raising children.
Yeah.
They're not finding something fulfilling to take up their time. So they're losing a part of themselves. It's wow.
Well, they're taking away their biological instincts. That's really what you've done to North American women and European women. Where in European women, they are much more masculine. And if you look at a European woman, you're like, damn, you didn't shave your armpits, you have no makeup on, your hair is disgusting, you look like a fucking man.
Well,
where again in the United States, women are ultra feminine, but don't want to take responsibility, and they live in this this in their own. It's a utopia for them, more or less. They act like they're in a utopia.
Well, they bought and sold the magic spell of the jinn, because the only people that are going to sell you the idea of a utopia, which is almost a sort of a mirror of the concept of communism now in politics today.
Yes.
But the only people that'll try to sell you that bullshit are the jinn. Those are the only people that'll try to sell you that bullshit, because it's not true. It can't happen. It's not the purpose of this world. So if someone's trying to sell you utopia, walk away from them, man, because they're full of shit.
Yes. Because God basically wanted us to work hard. That was part of the well, it wasn't a command, but it said that you're going to work by the sweat of your brow and you will work, and you will work, and you will work when you're out of the Garden of Eden. So we were not designed to have so much luxury.
No.
We don't know what to do with it. And that's
Well, women. I'm not living in a fucking luxury. I don't know about you.
Women, yeah, a lot of women.
Women are living in luxury. Men are not living in fucking luxury.
Oh, I know that for a fact. We're not living luxury, but women kind of define what we do right at this moment. They are the dominating deciders of society at the moment. A lot of them are in control. If you haven't noticed, this is what kills me. Is if I were to go back 10 years and wanted to get married, I'm looking at buying an entire brand new house, putting up $120,000 for a home. It's insane. The requirements for reproduction are nuts.
Yeah.
And what it does is it limits the breeding of it creates more of another class system.
You're eliminating the middle class and making them all fucking poor now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just getting rid of a specific group, almost like
middle
eugenics.
class. You're destroying them. You're defining what you're saying right now is you're attacking the middle class that built the countries that it's in, and there's a deliberate. It's blatantly obvious they're attacking the middle class, and the middle class do absolutely fucking nothing about it because everyone is disorganized, disoriented. You got 5G, 4G blasting you in the head with its radio waves and radiation. You have the media. That's this loudspeaker behind you screaming and yelling at all given times because when you turn your phone on, you turn on the internet to your phone, your smartphone, you're going to the news. The first thing that pops up is going to be the news. And what's the news telling you? That you're bad, you did this, you did that. It has no bearing on reality whatsoever because you have no privilege. These things are foreign to you as they are because you're struggling to make ends meet. And at the same time, the holes of power are working in a basement, trying to fucking enslave you.
Well,
oh yeah,
going back to how Jeff was mentioning the consequences of marriage. That's one hell of an evil black magic spell is marriage, and when that's been cast on you, man, it sets you back. It sets you back real far.
Well, yeah,
perverted marriage. But marriage isn't a bad thing. It's just been perverted to the point where it's completely redundant and obsolete. Why is it? It's obsolete now in the present time because of again, the family courts and again the media, social media, all these type of things. Marriage is not supposed to be a bad thing. And when we talk about MGTOW. And how it tells you that even though biologically that's what you're driven to do, and you want to pass on your genes, you actually can't because of very negative forces out there, which is what we're discussing tonight.
Yes, exactly. Going back to when I mentioned that Quranic verse about how the two angels taught the magic, and the example was how to separate a man from his wife.
And that's basically what's happening through the use of and I can see that through teaching people mathematics by using demonic forces to do that, and they're using these psychological. Okay, let's break it down more to a psychological thing and less metaphysical. Mm-hmm. So they're basically teaching people or teaching society through their subconscious, these jinn. Mm-hmm. I'll make that jump to break down society through use of magic, part of our psyche, to learn new things in order to make society. Yeah, I can make that connection real easy through our math, through our understanding of physics, through our understanding of
law,
everything, law, chemistry,
political law.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're creating a society which we weren't designed for, and the only people that are going to thrive off this is that particular group.
Yeah,
and because they they're going to be the only ones that have stress because they have to figure out how to rule us, and they're going to have more up. If we go to a society where there's absolutely nothing for us to do, they're going to have absolutely no problem ruling over us because their oppression, their drives are going to be to rule us, so that they have a purpose, and we won't have a purpose if everything becomes automated in society,
Well,
and that will further destroy the connection between men and women by destroying men's purpose and a woman's purpose.
yeah, and you got to remember their drive is not just to rule us, but their drive is to win this game, and the game is I'm gonna turn all you insan into haters of God or blind to God's grace.
Well, it's working pretty good. You have a lot of atheists out there that cannot see the possibility of God.
Yeah, and not even atheists. I mean, people that follow religion, they've corrupted the religions to the point now too, where people that call themselves Christians, they don't see God at all. They think they do, but they don't. I mean, same with Muslims. I mean, they've corrupted the religion so badly through manipulation of language and words and magic. What we're talking about.
Exactly.
You don't have to be an atheist to be some kind of like blind to creation and God. You can be a Christian. You can be a Muslim. You can be a Hindu.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. All these different people. Yeah, I mean, okay. From a magical point of view, I believe God because you have no choice but to. Mm-hmm. Somebody created this realm. Okay, you have to.
Yeah.
From my understanding of magic, we're pretty far away from God. We're seven sections away from God. Okay, God is in another realm, but that's neither here nor there. We'll go back to your discussion. It is fascinating how they can use magic, the magic words, the mathematics, are toys to rule us, to break us down, to cause a division between men and women because women don't see our value. That's part of their wiring. And the fact that we're getting fatter because we're not taking care of ourselves, our health is going down. Mm-hmm. We're being ground right into the ground. That's a simple fact. Holy cow, that's pretty deep.
Well, and honestly, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to pretend that I would even come close to knowing, but I don't think we got a lot of time left, man. I look out at what's happening in the world, and on my level of our level of understanding, and a lot of people listening, like what we spent our time trying to understand and learn, through our studies, through our conversations, through reading and just whatever we can, through traveling, whatever it might be. I look around and I go, I just don't see there being a lot of time left, man, because there's a time limit to this,
Well, yeah.
The time limit is when you die.
Well, no, I mean the time limit to everything, man. Like the reset button, right? Not just my life. I'm talking about the whole plane of existence we live on. There's a time limit to it. This isn't eternal. The only thing that's eternal is God. This is all going to end. Yeah. And I just look around. I just look around and go, maybe
go
there's
ahead.
not. I was just going to finish it off. I just want to say I look around and I go, geez, man, I don't really know if we have a lot of time left.
Well, here's something that I find kind of deep. You're right. Have you noticed that it seems like Christmas is coming around faster and faster?
Yeah, the days are slowing down, and that's actually biblical prophecy. But I don't know how much weight I put into biblical prophecy because I really don't trust that book that much. It's been manipulated a lot, so I don't know how much faith I put into biblical prophecy. But it does say the shortening of the days is a sign. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of signs. We have a sign of. Well, supposedly we had a blood red moon not too long ago. That's another sign that something's going on. lot of prophecy in that, but I'm not exactly sure what that means quite
Well,
yet.
the problems and things that are taking place are definitely being sped up. I also think it's also because of you can say that it's the powers that being doing this, but I don't give too much credence to that because we as a society and our attention span is much shorter now because of the internet.
Yeah.
I just read a phenomenal article that how much shorter songs become the last 10 years. They like I think there's like a 20-second drop in people's attention span for a single song, which is huge because the average song is what 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, about
That's
three
the
and a half
average,
minutes.
right?
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's now 3:10 or 3, and I think the top the songs that are going for the Grammys this year, some of them are even under 3 minutes, which is like a punk song. It's something very little nugget of candy is a 2 minute 15-second song. It leaves you wanting more. You want to hit that
Oh, yeah,
button again over and over and over again. So I think society as a whole is also asking for these things to be sped up.
I have a prediction that eventually movies will just be trailers. There won't even be movies anymore. It'll just people will pay $50 to sit in front of a movie screen and watch trailers, and that's it.
Right, and ads.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I can see I can see that happening for sure.
Yeah.
What? Oh, it's crazy times.
When I was, it's funny, Mitchell, I was thinking about like ads in movies and how subtle they are. And my dad always brings it up because when me and him saw the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks when it came out, and I'm like, wow, that was such a great movie. But me and my brother are like, high-fiving each other. And my dad says, this was one big commercial for FedEx. That's all this fucking was. He was so mad after watching that movie, and he brings it up all the time. You remember that movie Castaway? It was just a big ad. I mean, you're right. It was. It was just a big fucking ad.
Yeah, man.
And basically, what you're doing when you're in that particular movie theater is you're combining people's thought processes together. They go to the movie. They see it. They all now feel the same way. That brings them all together. They all have a shared experience, and it kind of unites them in a thinking pattern, a way of thinking. So you can change perception through movies. A form of magic, so to speak. Women are so into the idea that they can kick down a 200-pound guy if they're 125 pounds. It's pathetic. Okay, from Hollywood, and that once again, that's another form of manipulation and a form of magic.
Well, Hollywood and magic are synonymous. I mean, you mentioned Hollywood and magic is just it's on the other end of your tongue, man.
Oh, don't get him started with Disney, please.
Well, no, hold on. No, this is a good one. Think about it. In Hollywood, you have the Hollywood Walk of Fame with stars. Once again, another connection to the star family, which ties into the jinn.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a connection right there.
Yeah.
And
what about what? Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No. What do? They change the perception of reality for us. A form of manipulation, a form of magic.
Yep.
They are changing the way we see things, how we should live, what we should do, and that's another group. You see the star all the time, the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the star on the flag, the star in China, just one star. So think about it. In China, they have one star. They have one ruling class family, one government, one star.
Right.
That means something. That is something. So you possibly have 5 different families, 50 different families here, ruling 50 different states, or 50 different governors, all part of the same star family. There's some sort of connection going on with that particular symbol.
Yeah.
There's something there. We're probably one of the first people on the internet seeing that connection. And it's all because we see things outside the box of reality.
Yeah, you're breaking the spell, basically.
Yes, we're breaking the spell of what we're being rolled over by because we understand where these things are coming from. by using a different thought pattern and seeing where these things are, what the similarities are, and how they're accomplishing their magic. We are breaking through the spell that they put on us through magic, these groups right now together over the internet. Now, I don't know how many people are going to hear this broadcast. I think at least 1 million. I'm very, very positive that's part of Magick, and I will do some sigil magic to make it happen. We're going to see you on top. You're going to be kicking some butt and taking some names, I guarantee.
Good.
But so it's just amazing, the connection between that particular symbol, the star in China, one family, one ruling class, one government. The U.S., 50 different states, 50 different family members in those particular government positions. And of course Hollywood, where you've got the Hollywood Walk of Fame and everybody gets a star.
Yeah,
it's a good possibility that we have the star is a marker of that particular bloodline.
the Jinn.
Well, do you know when Lucifer is mentioned in the Bible, he's the star that's fallen from the sky. In a lot of ways, we are all stars. We are all stars falling from the sky, and each star out there in the universe is probably one soul for every man. That's what I believe in that.
Yeah, Lucifer is the a shining star, but it's an interesting connection. I do think there's something to that particular star idea.
Let me quickly go to some of the comments here. Mekong Farong's in. Good to see you, buddy. Hopefully you're getting along with Monk. He says, I'm late. Did the show start yet? Yes, it did. He says, what's God spelled backwards? God spelled backwards is...
It's D-O-G.
It's a woman's best friend, I guess.
Yeah.
Bernie
That's
Sanders.
why we love
Yeah, Bernie Sanders selling utopia with other people's money. Yes, indeed. And last thing he says is Cabin Boy lives in a trailer. Whatever happened to Cabin Boy, man? Where'd that guy go? He's not around anymore.
Yeah, right. He's huffing gas.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he's off with Florida Man from the TFM show. They're hanging out.
He probably got involved with a chick or something. That's what makes men fucking drop off the face of the earth.
Yep.
Yeah, because we don't understand the power of women. We I don't know. I don't know how to break that spell myself. So that's why I'm MGTOW.
Yeah, I just try to stay away from women, and that's one of the best ways to do it, really.
Yeah. And unfortunately, here's another bad thing about that, right? We are the men that actually think about things like the Jinn, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not having children, so this is actually causing their plan to move forward even more.
Yes, yeah, but again, this ties into my point. Is like, it's useless to try and change the world. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Look to God and save your own fucking soul, right? And maybe your children and your family. That's it.
100%.
Don't fucking try to think you're gonna change Bernie Sanders utopia. I'm gonna change the world. No, you're not. You can't. All you can do, save your own fucking soul, look to your creator, and hopefully you can take along maybe your friends and family. That's all you can do, man. Yeah,
you save yourself first. That's the rule of anything. You can't.
MGTOW is about self-preservation.
Absolutely, and I hear people go, "Well, MGTOW's not a solution." I'm like, who fucking cares? There is no solution. The solution is your self-preservation, and that's it. A lot of these people, like a lot of the MRAs I talk to, they're like, "Well, we're trying to do good and we're trying to help men," and I'm like, "Okay, good for you, but nothing's changing. So quit bragging and quit trying to bring us down."
Because once again, these are the people that know how to do the magic that changes the way society sees things. Mm-hmm. It's simple as that. They know how to work words. They know how to work things and systems. These are the people that design these systems. of mathematics and ways to break matter apart and things of that nature. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't learn from their systems and that we can't use their systems to better ourselves. It's always good to do that, but it's just if you understand we're not designed for the style of living that we're in,
Yes.
then you need to change the system you're in and break from it and go back to the way we're supposed to live in order to find God. That's a solution.
Yeah. And again, like I said, this life is temporary, man. It's short, it's brutish, and it's temporary. You know, our goal is to be the best we can here so that when this life is over, we can maybe reap some rewards. This life is
Well,
not the reward.
no, it's not. It's not at all. As I was saying before, when I was talking to you about the uh, the name of the live stream, what we're trying to do and accomplish here is through pressure. Right, this is God's plan, in my opinion. Through pressure, we're making diamonds, unique diamonds. That way, God will come pick us up because we're something unique and take us with Him.
Yeah.
And that's what life is making a diamond.
You'll get to be
For
the
God.
star. You'll get to be the diamond.
Yeah, you get to be the star for God.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, guys, we're 2.5. I think we're gonna shut it down. Is there any kind of closing remarks anybody wants to make?
Work hard.
Good.
Work hard in life.
Well, I hope
Fine.
you come back on. I'm going to definitely research more on the topic. You know, you definitely struck a good chord with me. I enjoyed the talking about Baal and this form of mythology.
Well, yeah, but I think it was more productive to talk about these other groups because it kind of shakes reality a bit. We need to shake up the status quo and shake reality and try to look at things from a different perspective. Try to see through their magical spell in order to find some way around it, a workaround. And we're doing that, and we will succeed. I think that each person individually on this on the path of MGTOW will find a way back towards God, one way or another.
Agreed. Yeah, and I want to just say, guys, you know who the Jinn are now. Keep your eye open for them. Break the spell.
Watch out for the stars.
Yeah, you know who they are now, man. They've been trying to hide from you, but now you know who they are. Keep your eye out for them. Break the goddamn spell they have over you, because they're relentless and they'll never stop. Anyway, thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for Warrior being in there for doing the moderation, making women disappear. Best magic trick all night. It's great. And yeah, so see you guys later, and thanks for joining the show. If you just joined now and you're missing it, don't worry. Go, it'll be uploaded. Go listen to it. It's a great talk. All right, guys, we're gonna say goodbye. Thanks for coming on.